16 of the best teams from around the world have joined us here at the newly minted Blizzard Arena in Burbank, California, where we will kick off our opening week of the HGC Finals. Hello and welcome. My name is Kevin Michael Johnson, and I will be your host for the next 2 weeks of Heroes of the Storm esports action, where we will look to crown a global champion. It all starts right now as we kick off 4 days of group stage play, and then next weekend, a single elimination bracket where we will crown a champion played on the infamous BlizzCon stage at the Anaheim Convention Center. I will not be alone to escort you through all the action. Joining me, of course, is our illustrious panel of experts and analysts, with the man accusable for the classiness of the HGC at the helm. Kylaris, how's it going over there?
It's going very good. Thank you very much, Cloak, and always a pleasure to be joined by one of the main voices of Heroes of the Storm here for the HGC Finals. And he's totally right. Over the last 10 months, all of these teams have been building the foundations to lead up to 6 play days. 16 teams fighting for $1 million. We'll get down to the nitty-gritty in just a few moments' time, but it is sure to be an excellent tournament in just a few days. To my left, I am joined by Skimmy, Grubby, and Dreadnought to start things off. HGC Finals leading up to BlizzCon. Gentlemen, starting with you, Skimmy. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity for all these teams. I'm glad to be brought back into the fold of things to get to work alongside you boys again, so it should be a cracker.
It should be a cracker. I am ecstatic to get BlizzCon kicking off. I have just been, it's everything we have been building up for throughout all of this year, and to see it kind of come to life is just so amazing. So I'm ready just to kick things off, you know?
Yeah, it's the epitome of high-level Heroes of the Storm play, and I'm so ready to see how the best teams in the world are going to be playing this game, to learn from them and to be awed by them.
Well, of course, it's not just a case of who is going to be victorious, who is going to crown themselves a world champion, as we have 3 currently residing in this position. In fact, you could consider it 4 teams here, with strong contenders down the line as well. It's also a big point of the $1 million prize pool that we have here up for grabs, as we can take a look at how that breaks down. And first place of guarantees themselves $500,000, $100,000 each per player. Grubby, that's a lot of skins.
Yeah, that's. I think that's about as much prize money ever for Blizzard tournaments. You know, back in my days, a big prize pool was $20,000 for a person. 100,000, that's insane. That's a huge prize pool, and it must be a big reason why all these teams are valuing BlizzCon so highly, Kylaris.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, it's no kind of small prize, even kind of down the line there as well, with a total of $1 million up for grabs, Skimmy. It's fantastic for these teams.
It's a fantastic prize pool that will allow these teams during that big off season going into 2018 for the HGC to have a fair time off, do a bit of travel, get themselves refreshed and rejuvenated. Played a lot of games this year, whether they've been the major or the minor regions, so it's nice to take the breaks off and do something new.
Of course, there's a lot for us to get down to here, Dread, as I cut you off for a moment as we get all of this started, because we've got a lot to go through, as we have 16 teams here. Let's start with Group B and just kind of get an overlook there. We want to introduce you to a lot of these teams today, but obviously we're not going to be seeing every team today. So Group B consists of Fnatic, Darksided, Team Freedom, Beyond the Game. Dread, who we're looking at here?
I mean, Fnatic has got to be the first thing that jumps out at this page, but I do not want to count out Team Freedom. They're a team that has been fighting from the very beginning of HGC to prove that they're a team to be, at least, you know, scared of out of the North American team, and I feel like this is going to be the time for them to shine.
It's no secret that Beyond the Game has had a few issues coming into this tournament, Groovy, but they're looking to make the best of their situation.
Yeah, and the way that they can do that is just to say, okay, we've got nothing to lose, we're just going to give it our best, despite a few substitutes here and there.
Yeah.
And you know, with this group, not exactly anyone calling them the group of death, maybe Beyond the Game, Team Freedom, Darksided, all have equal chances after Fnatic.
And of course, Darksided, you know a bit about them, my friend.
I mean, they're my fan favorites, right? They're the ones coming from ANZ. The first time they've actually upset the pecking order, which has been Nomia, Nomia, and Nomia, right? So what better way to get that initiation? Welcome to the big leagues by taking on Fnatic, right?
An easy match to start for them, it seems. Let's move on to Group C and see who is going to be representing there as well. It consists of Roll20, Team Dignitas, we have Red Canids, and Tempest joining us here for this one. A lot of people are calling this the Group of Death.
Yep.
The group of depth.
And depth.
and understandably so. You know, Tempest is not a team to be kind of laughing at, as it is right now. The word on the street is that Korea has really stepped their game up since the Eastern Clash. Makes that with teams like Team Dignitas the most consistent of Europe for so long out of all of 2017. And then Roll20, kind of the new blood rising here for North America and standing their own.
You got teams like Tempest in there who arguably are a little bit scared of things like Roll20 after we saw them defeat MVP Black over in Sweden.
Yeah, I mean, Tempest have been that third seed in Korea for quite a while now. They want to try and prove themselves as that contender amongst the world's elite.
Yeah.
What really shines up for me would be Red Cannons. I mean, they've come to all these international events. They've been trying and trying again, most recently with Jay Schritter. He's going to be moving to the North American circuit. But, you know, they've been hungry for that win. They're searching for it still on the international stage. But in a group of death like that, they couldn't have drawn a harder start.
Let's move on to Group D, see how that's going to be rounding out as well. That will be 3 or 4 days from now, depending on how you look at things, as SPT, Soul Torturers, Team Expert, and Ballistics is the little name that we're missing out there. But overall, you know, it's a very, very strong group as well, especially since a team like SPT has really risen to that #1 spot in China.
This group scares me the most, I feel like, out of every other one. SPT has been, even though we haven't had maybe the strongest representation of the Chinese region historically, they have constantly been climbing and dominating within their region. Soul Torturers, the first of the non-league regions to kind of, you know, like the region to surprise everyone, catch everyone off guard, and then you're putting in world champions like Ballistics winning last BlizzCon on top of that, and then Expert. It's just that one, every team in there just brings such a unique place out to the table. It's going to be awesome.
Especially a team like Team Expert, who for the longest time were considered to be the wacky ones, but they've settled down a little bit now and have got into the groove of things. And a lot of teams are scared of how Expert can come to this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, what can we say about them? They're the 3rd seed in Europe. Before they were like solid middle tier in Europe. And that's really been changing around recently, getting a lot of respect from the top European teams. Team Expert, you know, they have it within themselves to prove them even to be the best European team, maybe. We've heard some whispers around here and there that their performance in practice is very impressive. So this is truly a very formidable group with these teams.
Yeah. All right, the nitty-gritty is done almost, because now we move on to today. We have Group A about to come at you here with double elimination format, obviously, and we have MVP Black, one of the menacing beasts of Heroes of the Storm. Deadlykittens, we have CE, and we have Tempo Storm. Gentlemen, what stands out for you here?
I mean, the big matchup that I'm looking forward to today is going to be between both CE and Tempo Storm. That's definitely a match where it could go either way, a 50-50 at that. I mean, once again, the Chinese teams are a little bit falling behind in terms of the visa issues, but you've got one that love to play that aggressive style, the other that wants to play that sort of defensive, stand back, almost turtle style. So clashing those two together, should be some fireworks.
I completely agree when looking at CE versus Tempo Storm. They're probably more of the, you know, kind of competitive at this first glance, because as MVP Black and Deadlykittens, we've seen that historically, it kind of goes the same direction, and it's MVP Black. But there is so much hype behind this team right now when it comes to the talk of the players and just the momentum that they've been able to gain since the Eastern Clash. So I do put this one as a tall tale for Deadlykittens, but the CE versus Tempo Storm series is going to be a doozy.
I mean, almost arguably anyone against MVP Black would look like a Deadlykitten.
Meow.
Get that one out of the way nice and early.
But the second match is definitely the one that we're looking at, where we say that's probably the toss-up for the 2nd seed in this group. And while normally you might say that CE is the more powerful than Tempo Storm, I truly do think as well that the style of Tempo Storm, I think they're very good defensively, a little bit less aggressively. So to be against such an aggressive team like CE actually plays into their hand. So it's really close.
Yeah, it's a great point that you bring up there. As I say, that is the biggest point of contention here in this group as we unfold down the line. We're going to take a look at the schedule in the moment for today's festivities as to what's going to be happening in Group A. Because, as we said, it's a double elimination format. So once you've lost one series, you're not out just yet. You do have that lower bracket in essence to be able to bring yourself back. CE versus Tempo Storm is going to be our match number 2, but we are starting things off with a previous world champion in themselves. MVP Black goes up against Deadlykittens. And I'm curious, I want to decide in myself, do I do the cliche thing of David versus Goliath? I've done it already anyway, damn. But overall, that is where we are at here for Deadlykittens going up against something like MVP Black. Skimmy.
I mean, I want us to run our clocks back to the Eastern Clash where we had they go against MVP Black in the first round, right? And the first game, they tried to take him to Warhead Junction. It was a bit of a clan fiesta with them trying to draft 3 globals. MVP Black just going for the straight team fight and say we can beat you on raw mechanical skill. They came to game number 2. They tried something completely out of the realms. They went for the Ragnaros. It wasn't the lava wave like I know and love, but they went for that team fight. They were finding picks, finding hooks with the stitches. They were actually bringing the game to MVP Black. I believe went to about 35 minutes, unheard of. Yes, you can make a question that, you know, MVP Black weren't in their prime then. A lot's changed since then, but I wouldn't count Deadlykittens out as a quick 3-0.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we can get into it a little bit further down the line in a moment, because we do have Group A just about to begin and unfold here for day number 1 of the HGC final. So without further ado, let's introduce you to Group A.
To prepare for the HGC finals, we scrimmed against a lot of Korean teams right after the qualifiers for Road to BlizzCon.
Our first game is against MVP Black, and we've faced them for this year like 3 times. So we're not really looking forward fighting MVP Black, but we're looking forward to face either Tempo Storm or CE.
The most unique thing in our team is the atmosphere while we're playing. We always have fun while playing, and of course we play seriously, but there's always that thing that this is a game, so we also need to have fun while playing.
In the weeks heading into the HGC finals, my team did a boot camp over in Santa Monica at Red Bull Studios, and we're feeling pretty confident.
I think what makes us unique is just we're not scared to play like random heroes that other people aren't comfortable to. We have a lot of unique strats ready to go, and I think we'll surprise people.
Pre-game rituals for us would have to be getting June Korean food. I think that if June were to have any other food besides Korean food, he doesn't play as well, so that's our top priority.
对于这次 HGC 的备战，我们队主要是对于我们将会面对的各个选手研究他们的套路、阵容、BP 之类的，然后我们再开发自己的针对性的套路阵容，然后加强训练这几点。我队伍中每位选手英雄池比较深，所以可以适应多种阵容，然后打一些比较需要配合的一些阵容。对于我们小组赛中的3位对手，其中 MVP 我觉得是其中最大的对手，实力比较强，而且配合也很强。然后 Tempo Storm 的话，他们套路比较新颖，所以我们可能需要做更多的准备。另外一位 DK 战队的话，我们相对更加有信心一点，可以战胜他们。
其实对我们来说，狂鼠这个版本可能改动最大，也包括就是目前来讲吃出来的效果，可能变数最大的是莫拉丁这个英雄。他相比以前少了许多生存能力，但是相对来说他的进攻能力会比以前要增加很多，所以这会成为一个非常难处理的一个点。
HGC 풀리가 끝나고 블리즈컨을 진출된 그 와중에 저희가 파이널을 위해서 준비한 거는 일단 노블레스를 코치로 영입한 것과 유럽 3팀이 한국으로 부트캠프를 와가지고 유럽 팀들과의 많은 스크림을 하고 저희만의 메타를 정돈을 해서 오게 됐습니다. 저희가 갖고 있는 특별한 점은 일단 리치와 리셋의 캐리 라인이 다른 팀들과 비교가 될 정도로 강하다는 것과 최근에 영입한 노블레스 코치의 안정적이고 좀 특별한 뱀픽으로 좀 다른 팀들과 다른 무기를 좀 많이 갖고 있는 것 같아요.
일단은 제가 없을 때 MVP 블랙 이번 년에 한번 우승을 했지만 저는 우승을 못한 지 꽤 오래됐거든요. 그럼에도 불구하고 응원을 해주시는 분들이 많아서 정말 기쁘고 이번에는 그 응원에 보답하기 위해 우승을 하도록 노력하겠습니다. 팀들을 상대하게 하면서 딱히 긴장된다, 걱정된다라는 느낌은 없고 그냥 편하게 올라갈 수 있겠다 이런 느낌밖에 없어요. 아니요, 그런 건 없고 이번에 다들 그 경기 전에 단 거를 먹으면 집중이 잘 된다 해가지고 아마 초콜릿이나 사탕 같은 걸 먹고 들어갈 것 같아요.
And And that is our 4 teams. A lot to assimilate from them as they come into this Group A, and a lot on the line, obviously, as they're, you know, nervous, anxious, prepared, whatever it is coming into this group. So obviously we've got MVP Black going up against Deadlykittens. Skimmy, I got a few of your thoughts, but I just want to open up the forum a little bit and ask you about, firstly, MVP Black. Where are they in the meta right now? Where are all of these teams in the meta? I think the question is, who knows, Dread?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some adjustments when it comes to the meta for this tournament. Yes, double support has been something that a lot of the world has been talking about, and we can assume it to display itself here at this type of tournament. But when it comes to, you know, a lot of the major reworks, like things like Murden, he's gotten a lot of hype behind him, but I do think it will be a very different meta from this tournament than what we experienced these teams playing as they qualified.
Grubby, your thoughts kind of coming into this tournament as a whole in that regard?
I mean, we saw CE saying that they studied the drafts of the other teams to try and kind of get a handle on how everyone is going to be playing. And this has to be very general. You need to look at trends and characteristics and styles, because really trying to pin down specific hero picks is going to be difficult due to the nature of the recent patch. So really what all of these teams are going to try to be doing is to understand the spirit of another team. Are you aggressively inclined? When you are in trouble, what do you deviate towards? What's your fallback plan? And I think that's going to be a big part of seeing these teams evolve during the tournament.
Yeah, and on the other side, of course, you've got one of the minor region teams like Deadlykittens coming into the fray here, with 2 actual Koreans now on their roster coming into this. So Skimmy, looking at them, looking at how they want to try and adapt to the meta, for some of the smaller regions, it's a little bit more, we're going to stick to our style, just try and bring that and see how that unfolds.
It's always really been that case, especially from what I know back home in ANZ, where it's you have limited scrimmage, you have limited partners, you have limited top-tier opponents to say. So you play what got you here in the first place. You try and go up against some of the world's best when you're here, but within that small window of opportunity to try and learn new strategies, try and learn new metas, that can be quite nerve-wracking when you're thinking suddenly, we thought this was the go-to, we're not getting the results against higher-tier opponents. You're thinking, do we need to change everything so drastically at a last-second moment? And, you know, that can unnerve some members.
Absolutely, and one thing that I'm really looking forward to here with the Deadlykittens is the fact that with those 2 new members, they do seem rather confident. You know, talking about some of the past experience that Confidence has with the OGN Super League and his performance there. And I really hope to kind of see that be brought to light, because I do feel like the core 3 members between NSJ, Stronger, and Enavir here, it's just they have been so driven and passionate and so looking to self-improve for so long that I really do feel like those 2 additions might be the thing that puts them right over the edge.
It wasn't the easiest road for them here, though. They've always been resurgent in their region that has given them a few troubles here and there. But we spoke to them, Grubby, and they kind of alluded to, you know, why there was troubles there, etc. So
yeah, I mean, they went into their qualifiers and they took the tough loss against Resurgence, dropped to the lower bracket, and then they said, okay, let's reevaluate. Now they have these 2 new members from Korea, Jinwoo and Confidence, and they said that Confidence has brought a lot of new shot calling, a lot of new ideas. And one of the things they had to do was to reinvent themselves. Going back through the lower bracket, going to the grand finals and clinching the spot required a changing of styles. They adapted their meta, more double support play, and a few other things. So being able to come back from that, learn some new things, and to show up here at BlizzCon once again, that's going to feel good to them because they already had a hurdle on the way.
And don't forget, guys out there around the HGC universe, you can join in with all the festivities and fun here whilst we go into the HGC finals for 2017. How can you do that? Well, it's by cheering for your favorite team as we move forward here. As you can see, the cheer progress has gone quite well so far. I got my Arcane Chaos Lizard a little while ago, and I was very, very happy riding that around, trying to match it up for the perfect skinergy that you can get going. But if you cheer for your favorite team moving through here, there's never been a greater opportunity to claim these rewards, get yourself some banners, get yourself some sprays. I love representing my Dignitas banner in-game. Just saying. I'm a Brit. We never win at video games. Let me have this moment, Dread, all right? Just let me have it.
I'm going to let you have it. No, that's totally fine.
All right, let's find out which battleground we're going to be going to here for our first series of the day, the first game of the day, as we have Sky Temple going to be chosen here for MVP Black.
And I want to reiterate that this is a common pick for MVP Black against opponents that traditionally they don't feel are maybe up to snuff, you know, that is not going to really bring the fight there. It does feel like traditionally Korean teams have kind of felt out game number 1 and then game number 2 go to Sky Temple is almost the executioner moment. So to bring out game 1 on Sky Temple, I'm not saying it's bold, but it just conveys to me that MVP Black is beyond confident.
Yeah, that's my point exactly. SkyTemp has always been their go-to map for them. They can exert the pressure of not only macro but team fighting prowess, saying you need to force that fight. And I mean, if you start off like this, I believe the last time we saw a minor region, I believe it was Nomi up against MVP Black. The game ended in like 8 minutes flat. So if you go into this best of 3 series just like that, you show your authority as why we are one of the best to try and take up the entire tournament.
All right, time to open it up. The HGC Finals 2017. We're leading up to BlizzCon, the first draft here of our top 16 teams.
First ban is going to be going to Deadlykittens, as MVP Black picked this battleground. Deadlykittens has had a big leaning towards banning things like supports. Ariel, for instance, of course, this is in a previous meta. They like banning globals, wave clear, but now, of course, the villain of the Nexus, Garrosh, feared at every level for getting easy pickoffs and kills, will get removed right away.
I appreciate the fact that my Hero League experience is reflected in the first game of the day.
Yeah. Everyone at home is nodding, yep.
Also want to highlight that Brightwing ban is going to be something I think we will see quite consistently throughout this tournament. She has risen through the ranks of supporting due to the major adjustments that have happened to her as of late, and then also just the double support meta she fits so very conveniently into. So not surprised to see that taken away, but that high Ariel does indicate that kind of hyper carry double back support line, or excuse me, double hyper carry and then double support behind it to keep it up on the front line.
What I'm interested really for the Deadlykittens is we saw during their qualifiers that Jinwoo was extremely reliant on the Rhaegar, picking it 9 times out of the 11 games that we had to analyze. So the fact that they say he can't speak English, he is going to be very, we're going to be very reliant on him actually keeping up. You've got the Oreo, as you say, the hyper carry. The response though is, it's the annoyance of both Tracer and Tass. I'm already tilted based on those picks alone.
Trashadar.
Trashadar.
Yeah, Trashadar.
I hate it.
And it's a nice new term for those that find this combo difficult to deal with. Oh, look, it's Trashadar again.
It sounds like some kind of Pokemon, but anyway. Beyond that, are you not interested by the Oriel pick initially for Deadlykittens?
They value it so highly. In their match against CE at the Eastern Clash, they banned Ariel twice. They had a lot of first picks, first bans even, against Ariel in the last 4 months or so.
Yeah.
So for them, if anything, this shows that they are still very much in that same mindset, that whatever changed hasn't changed their hate-love for the Archangel of Hope.
I do want to kind of back that. I completely agree. It does feel like, I don't want to say that the high Ariel is out of place because I don't think that is quite the case, but considering the map and the transition of like what I'm assuming out of this team, it does feel like maybe sticking to what they knew and what has worked into the past a little bit more than considering bringing their own flavor here to the table. Granted, that is just one pick and that we could be completely blown away here, but it does feel that way at first glance.
There was so much focus, it felt like, from their regional on Oriel and Tassadar, and unfortunately for them, because they feel like Garrosh is so much of a threat, they now have to let that Tassadar through. So that's a little bit of a worrying thought there for them if they wanted to control that so much in their regional, surely.
Yeah, Tracer Tassadar is a threat, and it really comes down to Tracer's playing level. Because basically, if you play Tracer well, you should be nigh unkillable. The only question is, can you do things fast enough, accurately enough, to actually make an impact? And one thing that works against Tracer, people don't draft triple squishes anymore. There's a lot of double warrior, double support, a lot of utility stunts, so it's not as easy as it used to be. But Tracer's really taking shape in the meta as the new quintessential assassin, whereas it used to be Vala or Greymane. Now Tracer is a big one in Korea.
How bold is a play picking a Tracer into an Oriel Crystal Aegis potential?
I don't feel like it's that bold, honestly. Most of the time, it does feel like when MVP Black transitions into the Tracer, it's more of just relying on this high amount of mobility and high amount of burst to be able to deal with this double support meta. I don't think that Tracer is one of those only heroes that plays into that playstyle, but generally that does seem like it has been the approach here for Korea. If they feel like that's going to be the choice, have high mobility and make the supports not able to respond to just immediately initiating and diving a backliner.
The question for me though is Muradin going to be the one to bend away? No, they decided to go for the Malthael. So a lot of questions are asked about this new rework towards Muradin, especially with the level 7 and 16 being such huge power spikes. With that in mind, it would actually add a lot of utility to MVP Black in terms of draft for the dive to assist Tracer in finding that pick target, locking him down, and guaranteeing a kill.
I feel like Deadlykittens is my spirit animal. These are the 2 bands that I go with every game.
Malthael and Garrosh.
Thank you, Deadlykittens, for leading my way. I appreciate that.
Now, Johanna and Dahaka were logical picks, because when you take a support that doesn't have cleanse, though it seems most don't, they can protect themselves with the Burrow and the Iron Skin.
bit of a common strategy we've seen recently. If you do decide to ban away the Uther for that armor component, you take out Lieutenant Morales instead. You've got that single sustained healing with the safeguard for that on-demand armor burst protection. Should allow Tracer to stick around for longer.
But Muradin new and a deadly force potentially in this meta.
Yeah, he is right now. A lot of teams were honestly considering he might not even make it past the secondary ban phase, to the point where MVP Black picking this up, they may feel like they've already kind of gotten more than they should throughout this draft after that Malthael ban. But ultimately, it's yet to be seen here, as we have no games here played competitively onto this patch yet. And so it's going to be just kind of, will Deadlykittens here with these last two picks find a way to really bring up that Ariel pick here and make that global pressure be something that MVP Black has to be afraid of?
The good thing for Deadlykittens, they flex their damage, so whatever Muradin is going to try to double stun, it's not going to be Johanna and Dahaka if they're on point. A quick Burrow or Iron Skin can prevent the stun from proccing, and it will be safer against Muradin. But what will they finally take? Greymane and Lucio. So second layer of protection and mobility in Lucio, and Greymane as the hyper carry.
I was going to say, this Sonya is going to absolutely dominate as the last pick here. Into specifically a Lucio, it is about 90% of his maximum HP. Pairing that with already the Tassadar that they have on top of that, Tracer's going to be providing a lot of damage onto the backline. I'm honestly surprised. I thought Sonya was going to be picked in the rotation before, and then seeing that Lucio locked in, I immediately go, oh baby, somebody's got to be riding the walls very effectively here and dodging Poison Spears, because Poison Spear is one of like the biggest hitbox spells almost in the entire game. It's crazy how large it is, and it's very easy to be able to hit that. So bit of a risky pick of that Lucio, in my opinion, because the Sonya seems pretty projected.
Another problem is Greymane as the solo damage dealer. Lucio, Johanna does a little bit more damage post rework, but Lucio doesn't do much. Anyway, you've got this one assassin Greymane, and normally when teams tend to run a single assassin with double warrior, double support, it's going to be someone that can reliably take out 2, 3, 4, or even 5 members of a team. Li Ming, Tracer, Vala, high mobility, short cooldowns, but when you look at Greymane, he can generally at maximum kill 2 members, and that's kind of it. And then there's still 3 left, and if that's Tassadar, Tracer, and Sonya maybe, you're in trouble. You can't take down the rest. So I do think it's a worrying draft for Deadlykittens, even not thinking about the team's power levels.
I was going to say, if you took away the names, what do you think about the control that potentially Deadlykittens composition could have on a map like Sky Temple compared to what MVP Black has?
I mean, I feel like they could rotate around the map really effectively. Ultimately, the one thing that I kind of struggle with is seeing the Johanna without having a heavy synergy to follow up onto the Condemn. Like, ultimately, I would have liked to see a little bit more of like a Rain of Vengeance kind of follow up in that double support hyper carry strategy. I just feel like, you know, Johanna, the wave clear and what she can provide in terms of that, it's just not going to gain that up on a map like Sky, and nobody's getting the follow-up CC necessary with that Greymane pick.
Well, don't forget you can vote for your favorite team here going into this series as well, with the hashtag of which one you think is going to be winning. Is it going to be MVP Black, or is it going to be Deadlykittens? And overall, we're very interested to hear what you guys think out on the Twitterverse for the HGC universe. So tweet at us at Heroes Esports as well. Get that hashtag HGC going and spread the word that the HGC Finals is happening. Skimmy, you had a thought?
I was just going to say, NSJ on Greymane, this is his hero. I mean, it's something he's extremely comfortable on. So I feel like, as you mentioned at the very start of this series, this is a case of pick some comfort picks. Let's try and get the ball rolling. Let's not try and do anything too outside the box. Only thing I'm really concerned for is what build he goes for, potentially the cocktail, to try and get some hope generated for this Oriole. Otherwise, they're going to lack on sustain. They're going to lack on this global front, which really got them punished on Warhead.
Small thoughts, Dred, before we start?
I do want to say that NSJ, though it is his hero, he plays very high risk, high reward, and I do feel like some of his decision-making will be heavily punished against a team like MVP Black.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll check in with you throughout the series. As for now, we're going to head over to the commentary team. It's an epic tale of an American food critic in Korea meeting a giant. Let's head over to Wolf and Jayhow.
To our first series of the day, as we've got MVP Black going up against Deadlykittens. Wolf, we've seen a lot of Korea. I've seen a lot of SEA this year. These teams have seen each other a lot.
Yeah,
thoughts before we head in?
I mean, I think that the obvious prediction for anyone watching is going to be the MVP Black 2-0, but I think that for me, this series for both teams is already an expected result for both sides. I mean, Black's not worried about Deadlykittens. Deadlykittens knows it's a likely loss. They're focused on the rest of the group. This is a kind of a first snapshot of the evolution of the meta for what we're going to see in BlizzCon. Already seeing double supports. These exact drafts could have been drafts we saw on previous patches. So I think it's exciting to see these two teams kind of clash in a standard style, not showing any of their strategies just yet going forward.
We're going to see how these strategies play out as it's time to start game number 1 here with Deadlykittens going up against MVP Black. All right, to kick things off, we will have MVP Black here on the left in blue. Big moments here as Muradin coming out in his first showing, as you talked about.
Yeah.
The first snapshot of the meta, and we already see the early Tracer pickup, which will be Kyocha, legendary, of course.
Yeah, and this is going to be an exciting look at what Black wants to do in this group. Remember, Black comes in as not necessarily the direct favorites this season, but a lot of teams have been saying this could be their season. They failed in the semis last year, so that win for Fnatic was, I think, kind of the beginnings of Europe's growth to dominance. But yeah, I'm excited to see how these two comps do clash and do collide, and NSJ, I think, is going to have to be very well positioned, or they will see that punish play out of Black like Dread was talking about on the desk just earlier. As MVP Black, without vision there, is just going to walk away, and we're going to start to see this lane heat up. I'm excited to see what Deadlykittens could potentially do to the Tracer with all the lockdown that they have, with the Dahaka grab potential after a Blessed Shield. Detainment Strike going to be very difficult to hit. But if they can get that Blessed Shield into a tongue grab or vice versa, that's going to really be realistically the only way they can kill Tracer, who doesn't have any sort of protection like a Divine Shield.
It's pretty much exactly how they're going to have to execute that. And the other thing is playing around the global. What can they do? Where can they get their advantage with the Dahaka? It's things like that that not only are you just trying to play for the team fight, but you have that global control. You have to play around that, and we'll see what Deadlykittens has come up with. And Wolf, I had a talk with him after the mid-season brawl, going into the second Eastern clash, and their qualifiers in general spent a lot of time there. And Stronger himself, who used to be that secondary melee role, talked so much about how he had such a huge respect for the macro game. That's something they wanted to focus on.
And that's certainly what they are trying to do with this draft. Sonya drafted into the Dahaka, you're not going to have a tough time, as we are going to see a pick potential here onto Jin. Just get taken out. With that pulse bomb connecting, just 1 second of misposition can cost you everything. And Black does have this setup that, even without Sonya here, is very difficult to deal with. They have so much CC, and even the grenade, for example, is something that could put you out of position just like that. But the soul lane dominated by the Sonya means that Dahaka will have to leave it. He will not have to. Sonya will not have to leave it, so she can actually stay down there, and Black can actually not really worry about the global, because it's not like Sonya needs to come up right now, especially because of that pick. So Dahaka having a little bit of a hard time down there.
Yeah, he's having a hard time, and I tell you who's also having a hard time is that Johanna. Generally, Johanna's the bully who can just stand on a point and just like, all right, look, I've got Iron Skin, I've got a lot of things I can do well. And except Muradin there with Tassadar, pretty good, as we do see Inavir come in on the Dahaka. Nice grenade pushed out there, but Dahaka does get the grab. Sake in a little bit of trouble. That's going to be a takedown.
There's going to be a trade here. Resets up here. Deadlykittens need to get out. Sticking around here under Cannon Tower would be a big problem, but that was a nice play there, catching the Morales. You saw the ping come in there as well, as he was realizing that that was going to happen. That was a really great play. The grenade didn't actually get him the CC he needed, but with Dahaka leaving to make this play, this means Rich is going to get extra damage done in the bot lane. So that's the trade-off, and it's a win for Black. 1 for 1, but damage done in the bot lane is more significant here.
I'm just thinking about this, and I'm just going to go out on a limb, as we've got MVP Black with a full level up. We know Heavy Impact is the new hotness at level 7 since the Muradin rework.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to stun out a potential sound barrier, there's another stun where another hero jumps in.
I mean, there's
some leap value, maybe, perhaps?
I don't think we'll see leap, but you can just simply take the easier and more standard stun of the Ancient Spear, which will likely be Poison Spear, which could burst through that. But yeah, I mean, I suppose that is a possibility that we see, J-Hal, as Confidence is getting real harassing here. Pulsed as well, and just barely get out of there.
Tried to give him a party gift on the way out. He's like, I guess that's not enough here, but Kyocha already making the plays. And we come back to this time last year and throughout last summer, Kyocha was legendary on this. And, we've seen like the roster or the role changes that they've had. Kyocha, of course, was that support. He changed over when they had the roster change when Merryday left after a mid-season brawl. But he's back to making plays here on Tracer.
I mean, one of the best Tracers in the world, no doubt, and the first to use him, and flex to him back in Sweden last year in summer. So, as you can see here, we're just going to see another rotation down. They clear this, which means the Caps can threaten this fort because the wall was already down. Black can play more aggressively like this as long as they stay out of range of the fort, as long as they have this minion wave. Because Deadlykittens doesn't have much they can do, especially a Talontier down here. They're playing it safe, which is something to appreciate. But again, while finally Black has, finally Deadlykittens has come down here to help deal with this. At the top lane, the same situation is happening, so they're moving that solo lane pressure up to the top lane to get that extra damage done.
Well, that heavy impact value there. NSJ taking a big chunk of his health there. We've got ourselves a look into that solo lane that we talked about with the Sonya and Dahaka. Obviously, the camp's going to be up there.
And it's really cool, you know, because Black has basically gotten this extra experience lead. You look at the kills 2-1, it doesn't tell the story of why that experience lead, that level lead for Black is there. They've killed now 2 complete walls, forcing that rotation of Dahaka up, losing the solo lane here in this matchup. Dahaka not getting that real value with the gank attempt he tried to do. That global value just isn't there just yet, so Black has this structural lead. They won the temple phase as well, and I love this play. This is a great play by Deadlykittens. It's not seen by Black. Kocha is nearby, but he doesn't know about this. They need to actually respond.
They just, I don't think that they have the damage. Double support with Ariel, Lucio, they lack the siege damage, that PvE damage that you tend to rely on, as we see another pulse bomb going on a Confidence, who lives with just a sliver of health there. Post 10, that's not happening anymore. When you get that extra percent damage, it's going to be over, but remember, post level 10, we will have the sound barrier, most likely, and the crystal.
I like the play for Deadlykittens. They didn't commit to it. I thought they were going to have Johanna to rotate down to try to catch a potential, Black coming into the late moment, a late scout there before 10. I thought it was a risky play, but I thought it was a good one given the situation they're in right before 10. But they decided to play it safer. They back away. Now Black has 10. They're going to make that same power play. And in this case, this is not a risk. And it's even been scouted by Deadlykittens, but they just simply know they can't deal with it. You can even see Burden solos the cap down there, the temple. And Deadlykittens is in a really rough spot right now, pre-10. They don't have Blessed Shield. This is a disaster.
It's just NSJ is kind of driving by, throwing cocktails out the window. It's like, look, I'm just trying to get some stacks here. Was unsuccessful, by the way, in trying to get one of those stacks. He's still sitting at 2. I don't know. They're going to have a hard time, I think. Post 10 is going to be their moment, but they got to get there as we see a stem drones out.
Now, Kocha is going to do a lot of damage with this. The Tainment Strike here onto Rich. There's the great sound barrier timing to keep Confidence alive, but not going to be there for the longer fight there. There's the stun coming out that new Muradin. Stronger is in trouble. No way out of this one. And throughout this, finally, for the first time this game, Dahaka's been able to push the top lane. Didn't come down. He wanted to get them 10, but now with a boss against them, a lot of heroics used on the side of Deadlykittens. This could even be a very early peak now, J-How.
The biggest threat here is, as Dread said in the draft, this is, Burden coming in. We don't know where he's going to be at. We're surprised he made it even past second ban. But the threat now, with the heavy impact at 7, if that boss had maybe got a little bit more early value, maybe you look towards coming in, Burden jumping in, you get a pick, it starts the snowball out of control. Things like that can and will happen. But MVP Black, obviously 2-level lead, very much taking what little they got out of there, or the amount they got out of that with the wall. They'll start to look to close things out around the next few temples.
Notice when Dahaka comes down to help deal with this pressure to prevent the keep, Rich was already on the way up to the top lane, so that push that came to his cannon towers, he's already cleared, he's already gained that extra experience, starting to put this pressure on, and this is a nice rotation to try to punish him on his way out, but they're just a little bit too late because they had to deal with that bot pressure, and look at where Black is headed. They've got Siege Giants in the bottom. They're trying to catch Dahaka here. Already knows he used his brush stock, and Inavir is in deep trouble. There's the stun. Tries to dodge the Stormbolt here. Pulse comes in. This is going to be a kill for sure.
He's holding on. Adaptation is keeping him alive for the moment, but they're going to have so many problems. The stem drone's going to be out. NSJ, this is where Dread was talking about going in a little bit far. Not being punished there as he does get the first confirmed kill onto Morales. So they are able to make some plays, and guess what? They've got friends.
Oh, Black is actually in trouble here. I like the rotation now from Confidence, trying to get the boop in to trap these members. Tist, very much in trouble. He's just going to peel here for the rest of his team, and what was I wrong there? I thought it was going to be the burst, but the adaptation, as you said, helped them survive here, and what looked like a great play to trap the Dahaka was countered by Deadlykittens, clearly preparing for a rotation like this. Reset's going to have to pop Archon to survive here. He will just barely make it out. The cost here, of course, is Sonya getting the lead on this temple, but very much a great turnaround by Deadlykittens.
A good turnaround. That was a really good chase there. We haven't seen the new rework Johanna as well, that level 7 talent, getting that bonus slow when you hit multiple targets, that 80% slow. We saw the value of it, forcing out that Archon that you talked about.
Yeah, it was very well played by the Deadlykittens there, and just a little bit off on the damage needed to kill Dahaka by Black. So they're going to actually put some pressure down here in the bot lane. Now, we talked about how Rich had the lead on temples. He can make 2 choices. He can either try to push top lane hard, or he can come down here to contest the last shots. Looks like he's already made his choice. Just going to stay up there in the top lane. Hides himself, though, so Deadlykittens has to, you know, keep in mind that he could be coming down at any moment. In fact, here he comes.
Yeah, Johanna went mid to clear that wave, which means Murden knows that there's not much peel there. Good. Oh, there's the interrupt. There's the interrupt on the sound barrier with that going in. NSJ is very deep, getting the heals there, trying to stay alive. He's going to go ahead and disengage.
Providence has to live.
In the cocktail.
Oh, he does live here. He's going to have that barrier again. There it is. Barely surviving. That was so important here, but even still, this looks like a done deal in terms of this team fight as DK is just back there. Boom, blown up there is Tahaka. Now stronger, isolated here. He can live a little bit longer to try to buy time for the respawn, but he's going to go down, and this could be a snowball, a slippery slope to defeat here for Deadlykittens in this first game. The keep is easy to take out here. It's fodder for MVP Black. 12 seconds for Tahaka. They can't lose anyone else.
They can't lose anybody else, and that's going to be Lucio going down. The keep's going to fall. Jinwoo's going to be the next to fall. They'll get through this keep. They'll turn their eyes towards the core. There's heavy impact showing its impact. Once
Making a big impact. Core protected, by the way. They will have to kill that keep first, but now it's open. We're going to see Inavir just try to buy a little bit of time here for his teammates.
Extra range. That extra range. Inavir's getting racked in that back line.
There.
That's
going to be the victor here. Stronger body blocked out, and now they just have to kind of hit this core for a minute. We do see the respawns coming through. Confidence is going to try to buy some time here, but they just have to kite away. It is a Sonya comp, which is so difficult to defend against, and it looks like this is just simply going to be game number 1 going over to MVP Black.
Something about that Murden pick seemed okay in that draft, post level 7.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of really good control of the fights with the dwarf tosses, but I think this game goes to the unsung hero of Rich, who destroyed the matchup against Tahaka, was able to get that extra damage done in both the bot lane and the top lane to get them 10 first, and that rotation up that was really cool by Deadlykittens where they got that pick onto Morales was still only a trade, and they were losing experience to do so, and the macro lead here for Black on this map, they love to pick so much, as I think what kind of pushed them forward to victory, comps aside.
Comps aside, and a great showing in our game number 1 here by MVP Black. But we're going to hear what Caleris and crew have to say about that game 1.
Thank you, gents. Part of the course here for MVP Black for game number 1, it seems, to start things off. But there were glimmers of hope there for Deadlykittens with a few kills around and about to try and get themselves into this series, Dread. Starting with you.
I think the biggest thing that I'm happy to see, at least out of the play for Deadlykittens, is even when they were behind, when the fight was going to happen, they didn't just run and walk away from it, even though it was definitely not in their maybe best interest to take it. Walking away would have definitely lost them the fight. So they tried to bring the fight to them, just didn't pay out.
I mean, we expected the game kind of to go like this. They faced twice at Eastern Clash. MVP Black won 2-0-2-0. You know, this is big power level. It's almost like Seed 1 versus Seed 16. But yeah, overall, some things worked out for Deadlykittens, and we actually have a moment here, a little sunshine ray. Here is the moment where they turned it around. They actually used Tahaka's burrow to dodge the Stormbolt follow-up and the Dwarf Toss stun. This double stun combination from Murden is so powerful, and they managed to actually turn it around. At this point, they were almost down and out, but the turnaround did pretty nice. We actually missed the moment earlier on where Tahaka stayed alive by the skin of his teeth. And, you know, I tried to say this with a minimum of cynicism. They made it past 10 minutes on Sky Temple.
That's fair.
Like, they didn't get trashed. The death count wasn't that high. I do think they handicapped themselves, Deadlykittens, severely with that draft. Very little threat ratio against double support, only Greymane. These kind of turnaround fights, they were always going to be their biggest strength. It was going to be difficult, but they did better than I would expect with a draft like that against a team like MVP Black.
Yeah, that was the point I really wanted to isolate during that draft. We were speaking, myself and Dread, saying, you know, the Malthael ban, why would you go for the Malthael direction? The fact that Sonya could get all the way through. And typically speaking, we're only seeing the Malthael come out as a response towards that lane matchup between that and Sonya. So the fact that that came through, you have to question it. We discussed also the Ufa. Ufa, I feel like, came down to a case of, look, NSJ, he's comfortable on that Greymane. If we give him 2 hard protection supports with the Divine Shield, with the Aegis, he may have the potential to pop off more than just 2 people, as you were discussing. But in the end, you know, this is comfort. They get the win.
Yeah.
The 8-minute was a ray of sunshine, but more consistency.
I have a feeling that that draft might be one that if once it's all said and done here, we've claimed a champion, we look back and we go, how do those picks make it post the secondary ban phase? I am not necessarily confident enough to say
Okay.
exactly. I think the Murden, I might be confident enough to say he. Sonya is one that's standing out for me in this tournament as another one that's going to be at that level, but definitely like the Murden, you're kind of like, you know, because we're yet to develop a tournament meta. These teams are kind of feeling each other out, but
Absolutely.
I do feel like MVP Black bit off a lot, and it was easy to chew.
Well, that was game 1 down and done. Of course, we have a few more potentially to come here in this best of 3. For now, though, here for the HGC 2017, let's hear a word from our sponsors.